Hi everyone, today I'm going to show you the difference between mobility and stability, and if indeed there is even a mobility issue, even taking two tests that can determine the difference between mobility and stability. With Fabian here, we're going to do a standard toe touch test, which is testing hip flexion and spinal flexion. Off you go. Here we see there's a bit of restriction here, and we might want to test this against a seated position. Take a seat. And toe touch. And here we can see that with a bit of push he might get there, but his mobility is really restricted. But one thing we can see with Fabian is if we just get him to stand up, we can see that he's got a significant scar here. And we get him to poke on we've already done some investigation and found a particular part of the scar. We get him to touch his toe. Here we can see that that's actually a lot easier. And if we compare that to the seated version, instead of actually advising whether this is a mobility issue, here we can see that pressing on the scar actually gives him a better ability to flex his hip and flex his spine at the same time. So here we need to determine, is it a mobility or a stability issue? And technically we might actually think that this is a mobility issue, but even because when he goes to seated he can't touch his toes. But what we found here, that there's a bit of fuzziness from the scar that's created a problem with his ability to flex the spine. So before you go stretching your hamstrings, and particularly if you have scar tissue, just try and determine whether there's a mobility or a stability issue. This test isn't clear in determining that, but when we have something as significant as a scar, the last thing we want to be doing is going and stretching the hamstrings out. So always remember mobility versus stability and define what's actually going on.